What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So some really interesting news today actually. We all know that with all the Last of Us 2 rumors we've been getting for the past couple of months, you know, it pretty much, the speculation about the game really peaked very recently, last week especially, with Josh from Naughty Dog pretty much hinting towards the existence of it by calling the first The Last of Us, simply calling it the first Last of Us, and being very nervous about having said that. Of course, you've probably all seen that video. And this meant that now Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann has come out to kind of like settle it all down a bit and start explaining things. And basically he said some really interesting stuff regarding what Naughty Dog is up to right now to the official PlayStation magazine. So before I really start giving you my opinion, of course, let me just quickly read out what it says in the article, what exactly Neil Druckmann told us about Naughty Dog's current whereabouts. So Druckmann's reaction to Nolan North saying earlier in the year that there definitely was a sequel inbound for the post-apocalyptic series was just like ours. Surprise. So Neil Druckmann said, I can say that was kind of a surprise for us for him to say that. I was like, oh, he knows more than we know about what we're doing next. We joked about it afterwards during shoots and stuff. The answer really is, and this is totally honest, and I've said it in the past, that when Bruce Straley and I moved over to Uncharted 4, we were brainstorming ideas for The Last of Us 2 with new characters, but also ideas for The Last of Us 2 with Joel and Ellie, ideas for a sci-fi game, and ideas for a fantasy game, while at the same time building prototypes for each one of those ideas. And just as we were getting close to settling it down or narrowing the list down, we were asked to work on Uncharted 4. Gosh, it's like being stuck between a really good rock and an excellent hard place, isn't it? That's what he basically said in the article itself. And I found that super interesting because I, in the back of my head, had always had in mind that Naughty Dog right now is still working on a different game, but reading this whole thing got me very much in doubt about that. And so I later asked Eric Monacelli from Naughty Dog on Twitter, who I know quite well and he knows me too, did an interview with him like, you know, what was that, 2 years back or something, and I asked Eric, does this mean that Naughty Dog has stepped away from the two-team approach that they recently started doing after pretty much Uncharted 2? And he said, yeah, for Uncharted 4, really right now it's just all hands on deck approach, and we've decided to just work with the full studio on that. And that's what I want to discuss in this video, is it does really seem like Naughty Dog has now finally given us an answer and told us that they've just stepped away from that approach. You might all know that after Uncharted 2 was finished, they decided to split up. They had Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley come up with the idea for The Last of Us that they really wanted to execute, and then, you know, slowly but steadily they had more and more people joining that team to start building on some, you know, start working on some ideas and building stuff already in game. And then, you know, as Uncharted 3 basically was finished, there already was quite a significant team, I think of, you know, for sure about 50 people working on The Last of Us at that point, and it only got bigger obviously when Uncharted 3 was finished, and then, you know, they started pretty much moving a big part of that team onto the Last of Us team to work on that. And basically after that game was done, The Last of Us in 2013, they started getting more people on the Uncharted team. But, you know, that team had also already been working on some ideas for Uncharted 4. It's quite complicated, but it really, all what it comes down to is they've been working with, you know, different kinds of teams on these things ever since Uncharted 2 came out. They had smaller teams working on ideas and already building some stuff, and then when the actual, you know, when that game came close to being released, they had a lot of people move towards that team to really help get it out there, right? But as I said, now it does really seem like Naughty Dog is just purely focused on Uncharted 4 at the moment. I do think, honestly, they have an idea already what they're gonna do. You know, Neil Druckmann here, it's in his best interest to say right now that they don't know yet, because otherwise, you know, like, he couldn't possibly already tell you that if they were still to officially announce it. You do have to kind of take these things with a pinch of salt, because you never know. Game developers, you know, they just don't want people to know what they're up to until they actually announce the game itself, right? So, he's definitely not gonna say, oh yeah, we're working on The Last of Us 2, or we know we're gonna work on The Last of Us 2 if they already have that idea. He would still say the same thing here, but I do believe him on his words now that Naughty Dog has stepped away from that original approach they wanted to do with the two teams, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's really nice that they will now just purely focus on one project at the same time, with the full studio, especially with the transition to the PS4 now, right? It must be way harder to make these games, and just even more polish and effort and you know, work goes into making a game now. If you see like how much better Uncharted 4 even is compared to the other ones, just the sheer detail that the game has, it's pretty insane, and you gotta, you know, of course realize that a lot of work has to go into that stuff. But yeah, you know, I like it. I like that they've started doing this again, that they're now working with their full team on one game at the same time. Yeah, but at the same time, you know, it's still very interesting. I wonder if, you know, if they've already settled down on what they're going to do next. I wonder when their next game would come out after Uncharted 4 gets finished. I do still, once again, let me just say it, I do think they've still got some people working on a different game. It's just not maybe as big of a team as I would have imagined. I do think they've settled down on the idea of what they're going to do. They know what the next game is going to be. I still think it's going to be The Last of Us 2. You know, this thing doesn't change anything there. I still think Last of Us 2 is going to happen, but yeah, when it's actually coming out, who knows? I said fall 2017. I still think that's possible, but you know, it might be like fall 2017, early 2018. Who knows? We'll see. Hopefully as soon as possible, right? But for now, let's just focus on Uncharted 4. That game is going to be absolutely amazing, coming out in March of next year, and I can't wait for it. But for now, I of course want to know your opinion in the comments. What game do you want Naughty Dog to make next? And then for now, I'd like to thank you a lot for watching. Hope to see you again next time.